Hello, and welcome to the first ever rendition of the Anything Goes podcast. I am your host, Des, and just to say hello, and that normally I would have myself a co host, as his name is also Trevor, but due to technological issues and COVID-19 virus, which limits contact with one another, in person at least, that is, he could not be present for this first episode of the podcast, so you'll be stuck with just me for now. So, sorry in advance to all of you who would much rather listen to him, as you'll come to find probably, because I'm just a bundle of joy. But besides that, I will give you guys a bit of a rundown of what you'll expect to see from this thing. So, what you should be able to come to see and find in future episodes. Who knows how long this thing will go, so who knows how many of these things can actually happen. Some of the plans that the two of us have drawn up so far and have discussed are things such as discussing music, movies, TV, heck, even possibly politics, all kinds of different stuff, current events, laws, anything that happens, elections, whatever. We're going to talk about TV shows, whether it's just one or two of them or a new one every single time. We'll have to just wait and find out. And also, just a side note, because I probably should have told you this at the beginning instead of, now where we are, like 2 minutes in, because there's probably a good enough number of people who are like, man, what have I gotten myself into? I need to get out of this video. This episode will probably be shorter, or heck, maybe even longer than most other episodes, because we don't know. This is the first episode ever being recorded, so we'll find out how long it is, and then maybe come the second, third, or maybe like even heck the 50th video, we'll know what the average length is. Could be anywhere between a half hour to 10 years. Who knows? I guess you'll just have to stick around and find out. But back to whatever it is I was talking about, with something to do with like plans or whatever. Who knows? Who cares? Probably not many people. But with that being said, we'll also discuss sports, whether it be football, basketball, baseball. Heck, it might be even something weird like lacrosse. I don't even know if there's a pro lacrosse league or not, so who knows? I don't really watch lacrosse because I'm not worth $50 million, so I don't play lacrosse. So, yeah, who cares about lacrosse? No one. That's the answer. So we'll probably only talk about football, basketball, some baseball, I'm sure. And just to stay on the topic of sports, and just to help you get to know me a little bit better, I will tell you my favorite sports team from each league, and you'll be like, what in the world is wrong with this guy? How does he like teams that have absolutely no correlation with one another? So why not? For football, for a very long time, my entire time caring about football, even when I didn't care about football, I was a Bears fan. Why? I don't know. I just was. I think that's something to do with me being like afraid of my uncle when I was like 4. He was a Bears fan. Yeah, not really sure why he is. Not really sure why I am outside of that. So good times. And then as I became more interested in football, I was like, man, them Bears jerseys look pretty damn cool. I was like, well, might as well just stick with it. I mean, they kind of suck. They just won like 4 games. I think I more actually started caring about football when Mark Trestman was the head coach. Thank goodness he's not anymore, but then again, at certain times I'm not sure I'm happy with Matt Nagy as my head coach. But those were also the good old days of Jay Cutler. And, well, if he didn't have that big, huge overpaid contract, he could have actually been considered an average to above average quarterback. But we're not talking about that right now because I'm introducing myself, not giving you my opinions on former quarterbacks that were never really all that fantastic in the first place. But to move on now to basketball, my favorite team is the San Antonio Spurs. You may say, oh, is it just because you're a bandwagon? Because over the last 20 something years, they've won like 5 championships out of 6? No, it's not, because I wasn't even a fan until they started to suck. I think it was just like after Tim Duncan retired was actually when I first became a fan of the Spurs. So by that point, Manu, he was past his prime by a pretty good amount. Tony Parker was on his last legs as a Spur. Kawhi Leonard, well, he was in the running for MVP. So, but then again, I'm still a Spurs fan, and well, they're probably not going to make the playoffs just because there's better teams in the NBA bubble right now than the Spurs, and because DeMar DeRozan can't hit a three-point shot consistently to save his life, so he's not going to probably be around, whether it be with just the Spurs or in the NBA for more than 2 or 3 more years. The Spurs he's probably gone after his contract's up. I like DeMar, he's a great guy, but he's just not a good fit for the NBA and the Spurs anymore. Well, actually, he's kind of a good fit for the Spurs because he doesn't shoot threes and neither do the Spurs. But then again, LaMarcus Aldridge, after going to the Spurs, that's when he learned how to shoot threes. Probably because they had no one else that could do it, so someone had to do it. But either way, like I said with Jake Cutler and Mark Trestman, we're not here to talk about my opinions and feelings on each of these teams. I'm here to tell you which one's my favorite team. And also, side note for the Spurs, Greg Popovich, greatest coach to ever coach basketball. And quite possibly one of the greatest coaches to ever coach in general of anything. Yeah. So, my favorite baseball team is the Baltimore Orioles. You may say, what? Why the Orioles? They suck. Well, I will have to agree with you, even though I'm pretty sure they're actually, since the shortened 60-game season, I'm pretty sure they're actually doing pretty good this year, and their record is actually pretty good. I'll just Google it while I'm talking and not really knowing what I'm talking about because I'm more focused on typing on my phone. And they are, oh wow, they're 5-3. Look at that. They gave the Yankees their only loss, I think. Did they? No, no, they made the Red Sox. They beat the Red Sox like 2 or 3 times. I don't know. It happened at the beginning of the year. I don't remember how many games they even played against the Yankees. That's besides the point, though. It is like in 2018 they had like one of the worst records ever. Now they're 5-3. And again, it's only 8 games, so there's still a lot of potential for them to suck. That's besides the point. And you may say, why the Orioles? Well, I don't know. I like the Bears orange jerseys. I like the Orioles orange jerseys. I also like the black jerseys. They look pretty nice. And well, this is also kind of a side story from why I was a Bears fan. I used to be a Cubs fan. Now, you may say, well, why did you switch teams to the Orioles? Well, I was only a Cubs fan because I was a Bears fan. I was like, Cubs, Bears. They're probably associated with one another, especially because they're both in Chicago. And no, this was not when I was at the age I am now. This was, again, when I was like 5. So, and just more recently, within like the last year or so, I've become more interested in baseball. I used to kind of hate it a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. But I was like, I should pick an actual team that I want to cheer for, not just a team because I was scared of my uncle and I thought they were associated with my favorite football team, which for quite a while was the only sport I really cared about. And, well, my friend was also the one that was like, hey, pick a new team that isn't the freaking Cubs, dude. I was like, I don't know, man. I like the Cubs because they're also like the only players I know are Cubs players. And then I was like, you know what, whatever, I don't care. I was playing MLB The Show, and well, I got drafted to the Orioles. So I was like, these uniforms are pretty cool. Their double A team, the Bowie Bay Sox, they're pretty cool too. So why not play as them for a little bit? And I'm playing Road to the Show, and I'm playing whatever their franchise mode is called. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But I'm playing that, and I'm like, man, these Orioles dudes, they're pretty cool guys. Anthony Santander, oh yeah, much less known, and probably who knows if he'll ever actually make it back to the MLB or if he's just gonna stay in the farm system. Richie Martin is pretty cool. I think I just became a fan of him more because, well, one, he was super young, so I kept him on my team, developed him, and because of the fact that his name's actually pretty freaking cool. I don't know, it's kind of simple. Martin is the last name, but something about Richie Martin being your full name is just really cool to me. Who knows? But yeah, that's a little bit about me and sports. So we're planning on having a segment called, I don't actually know what it's called yet, but it's going to basically be sports for dummies, which, well, if any of you out there listening are like, ooh, yeah, I like sports, woohoo, sports, I care about sports, but you got some friends that are like, man, sports are stupid, or they just don't care about sports that much, but you always talk to them about it like as if they do. Well, you can send them over this podcast in the future and be like, hey, listen to this segment of the podcast, and he'll explain to you sports because that's what the series for that is going to be. Is I will be explaining to Trevor more things about basketball, football, and probably a lot less baseball because, well, he's liked baseball a lot longer than I have because he actually cares about baseball, I'm pretty sure. I mean, outside the Brewers, I don't really know if he cares, but that's kind of the same, I think, for football too, as outside the Packers. He doesn't care. I don't even think he cares that much about the Packers. Kind of just like, woohoo, go Packers. And I'm like, nah, go Bears. I don't even think he has a favorite basketball team. So maybe throughout the podcast, however long it runs, or however long the episodes are, or however long that specific segment is, I'll convince him to be a basketball fan, whether it's the Bucks because he seems Team Wisconsin, or maybe I'll get him on the Spurs or someone else. And as of right now, I'm gonna take a quick 10-second break because I'm losing all the saliva in my mouth, and I need a drink of some not so ice cold cherry Dr Pepper because it's been sitting in an open can for like a half hour. Fantastic. Okay, now to something that doesn't involve me rambling on about something no one cares about. I'm gonna try to get into my first segment of anything at all. And I am going to speak about music. Not only music in general, but my favorite musician slash band, because technically it is also a band, but more specifically, people really do only care about the frontman, who is also the name of the band, and that would be, if you haven't guessed it already, or if you're just not a person that listens to this music, it's not nearly as many people do as they used to. That person slash band is Marilyn Manson. Woo, woohoo, woohoo. Or I should really get like a Marilyn Manson sound effect or something, or probably like a 3-second segment of one of his songs, so that way it doesn't get like demonetized or taken down for copyright from YouTube or any other platform this thing somehow finds itself on, and you're all gonna be like, man, why is this thing more than just YouTube? YouTube is more than enough. That's besides the point. Marilyn Manson. He, I don't know, sometime in very late August, released a single off of his upcoming album, We Are Chaos. That's both the name of the song and the name of the album. Now, from what I've seen on the Marilyn Manson subreddit page, some people really like it, and more people do not. Well, me, from my first experience, well, actually, I didn't get to have my first experience until my second experience because I was at work when the song was initially released, and I couldn't listen to it, but I saw it, and I kind of watched the first 10 seconds of the music video. I was like, man, this looks really bizarre. But when I did eventually get to listen to it, first 15, 20 seconds, I was like, what in the heck am I listening to? Am I sure this is the right Marilyn Manson? But then as it continued playing on and on and on, I listened to more of it, and well, I heard the chorus, and I was like, this song, it's not so terrible. And I kept listening to it, listened to it one or two more times, like, the more I listen to this song, the more and more I begin to like it. So I listened to it a few more times. Yeah, I know. I'm one of those weird people that listen to the same exact song 20 million times. And that's what I did. I listened to it 20 million more times. And I really like the song. Now, I've heard most people be like, oh, it's not that great. Why are you listening to that song? What is it that you actually like about that song? Well, I'm not really sure what I like about it. Maybe I like the message. Maybe I relate to the deeper meaning. But maybe I just like how it sounds. Maybe I like the beat. Maybe I like Marilyn Manson singing. I don't know. I really like it. And I've got a lot more hope for this upcoming album. I mean, I've been excited for it ever since Heaven Upside Down was released, but now that it's here and within my grasp of like a month and like 7 days or 8 days, I don't know. Who knows? But the main point is, yeah, I'm gonna say the main point is a lot because I lose my train of thought. So just be ready for that. The main point is with this single and what I've listened to it, I'm really looking forward to this new Marilyn Manson album. I know a lot of people, it's the complete opposite, but for me, I'm really looking forward to it. So that's kind of my thoughts on this album. I don't know what sort of direction it's going to go. I mean, Shooter Jennings isn't really someone that he's ever really worked with before. He's never really worked with someone in this sort of style. I mean, maybe depending on whether or not you listen to Tyler Bates, you may be able to find some similarities to Shooter Jennings. I don't know. I've never really listened to either one of them's music outside of one that worked with Marilyn Manson, so I don't personally know. But we'll definitely see. It's certainly different than what we're used to, it seems, from Marilyn Manson, especially when he's working with Twiggy. But he's also released some of his best music working with Twiggy, so maybe it won't be as good. But I am remaining hopeful because I want to see it be a great album because I want to listen to it and I want to be able to enjoy it and then be able to use it over the next 2 to 4 years while he works on and releases his next album. Hopefully, he will have a next album after this one. But that is pretty much all of my opinions, and we will be moving on to our next topic after that brief second drink of soda, which is now empty, which is really sad. I don't put another one, at least not anywhere near me, where I can actually get up and grab it within a reasonable time frame to get back to this. But our second part, or maybe third or fourth part, I don't know if we're counting the intro and then the discussion of future topics and such. But our next topic is once more on Marilyn Manson, and this time it is also sort of a way for you to get to know me and my style in terms of music. Is I will be ranking Marilyn Manson's 10 albums that have currently been released, which in specific order are A Portrait of American Family, Antichrist Superstar, Mechanical Animals, Hollywood, The Golden Age of Grotesque, Eat Me, Drink Me, High and Low, Born Villain, The Pale Emperor, and Heaven Upside Down. Now, when I give you this ranking, you're going to see, wow, how do you have some of these so low? Well, it's not because I don't necessarily like the album. Like, there's some albums I have really high just because I really enjoy those albums. Versus at my number 10, which is Born Villain, I like the album. I just don't think it has as many standout songs as some albums, like his very popular Mechanical Animals. It just doesn't have as many great songs that can really carry the album. I think Born Villain's a good album, and it's a very well-rounded album, which is part of the reason why it doesn't have a higher ranking. It's because it doesn't have anything that really truly stands out to me as above the rest of his music, you know? So then, at number 9 will be, here's another controversial, or here's the first of my many controversial takes, will be Portrait of an American Family. And part of the reason is, hey, and you can't actually blame me on this, also because Marilyn Manson himself does not rank this album very high because, well, it's his first album. He just didn't like how it sounded because he was still newer to the music scene. And this is his first album he's ever made. He didn't have the experience, and that's part of the reason why it's a lot rougher than some of his other albums because he doesn't have the experience creating an album. He's still getting used to going through the process, having a big fancy studio. So that's why I have Portrait of American Family at number 9. Oh jeez, I got like a burp that's stuck in my diaphragm but doesn't want to quite come out yet. And holy cow, I'm looking over at my computer and we're already 20 minutes through. And we still have more things to discuss that include what we're doing right now and something else that I have planned afterwards that you're gonna be like, wow, 3 topics in a row that are the exact same thing pretty much. But yes, that's what it is. So if you don't want to listen to that, you may want to either leave now or very soon. But to put me at number 8 is one of his more recent albums, and by that I mean like 5 years old, is The Pale Emperor. Now, Pale Emperor, it's not that I think it's a bad album. I mean, it's one of his most critically successful ones. It's just, for me at least, if I were to go look at the CD that I have for it, because I got a CD for every single album released, I look at it like only the first 5 or 6 songs I really listen to it all regularly, and that's kind of why. It's just I don't listen to it all that often because there's just other albums I'd rather listen to. It kind of goes back to like Born Villain. Is it just it isn't an album I listen to as much because it doesn't have as many standout tracks. And then at number 7, here's another controversial one because some people are gonna be like, "Wow, that's way too high." Is Eat Me, Drink Me. Now, some people will be like, "Yeah, that's all right. It's 7. You're gonna have a couple albums that you may like less than that, but it's regarded by many and most, and for even me for quite some time as his worst album. But now, as I've listened to it more and heard more of the songs, I don't hate it as much as I used to, because there's actually some good songs on there, like Putting Holes in Happiness, Red Carpet Grave, and Evidence, I actually kind of like. Now here, actually, is the most controversial one, and I'm very well known amongst my peers for being a controversial, annoying person that says things that people don't like. So here's number 6, and it is Antichrist Superstar. I can already see and imagine the comment section going crazy over this pick and being like, oh my god, how can he put such an incredible and great album so low? Oh my gosh, this is his best album. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite album. Well, you know why I put it at number 6? Because other albums are just more my style. And I just don't like it as much as some of the other ones because it has good songs, but for me, it's not as much of one that I could sit down and just listen to the whole thing. And that's why it's at number 6, but it's still got bigger, stronger songs than things like Eat Me, Drink Me, and Born Villain, and The Pale Emperor, and Portrait of an American Family. And that's why it's all the way up at 6. I've actually made a ranking where I had it at 7 and 8 before. So, be happy it's at 6 for all of you that are like, oh my gosh, it's so low. Because it could, and it has been ranked lower for me. So, yeah. And at number 5 is Heaven Upside Down, his most recent release. Soon it will not be his most recent release, but that doesn't matter. Is Heaven Upside Down, one of his, if not the most critically successful albums and more liked by the critics. Now, for me, this is actually his only song, or his only album that on a Spotify playlist that I made of purely Marilyn Manson is the only album where I have every single song on it. And that's a big reason why I have it at 5. Sorry about that. I had a really weak burp that tasted like my lunch of. What did I eat for lunch? I don't know. I think I had leftover lasagna and cherry Dr. Pepper. So I didn't really want to blow that into the mic or have that be something that you guys had to listen to and imagine the smell and taste, even though you can already imagine probably the taste of it since I gave you a not so vivid imagining thing for it. I don't know. But yes, number 5 is Heaven Upside Down. It has some really great songs that I like, but it's also a well-rounded album, which is why it is at number 5. And now this number 4 actually is probably my most controversial one with comparisons to Antichrist Superstar. At number 4, I have The High and the Low. Now for me, part of the reason why I have this one so high is because this is one of my first albums I listened to that wasn't a part of his triptych of Hollywood, Mechanical Animals, and Antichrist Superstar. So, you know, I have more of a touching experience, I guess, with it, if that's how you could put it. And it's a pretty well-rounded album with a lot of good songs that I quite enjoy. It's got a very long song, and I Want to Kill You Like They Do in the movies, which, if you knew, I was a fan of. Part of the reason why I like Metallica, I think, is because they have so many long, quality songs. And, well, Behind the Blow has 2 longer songs than Running to the Edge of the World, and, now I'm blanking on the title. I Want to Kill You Like They Do in the movies. Which, funny enough, 2 of the longest songs also have like 2 of the longest titles I know. But that leads me into number 3, Golden Age of Grotesque. Similar to how I feel about Heaven Upside Down, it is a very good and well-rounded album with some very good individual songs. And I don't really actually have any more comments out of Golden Age of Grotesque. It's just a very good, very well-rounded album, I think, with a lot of very strong individual songs. Which now moves me into the final 2, and I don't have a drum roll thing at hand for me to put in to make the drum roll sound, so I'm just gonna slap my knee as a drum roll sound for seeing which is number 2 because well I can't do it with number 1 because there's only one option left. So I'm doing it on number 2, which will be drum roll Mechanical Animals. Now, for many people, Mechanical Animals is their favorite album because it's an incredible album. There's also a lot of people that I've seen that rank it as one of those middle of the pack albums, which I could not further from agree with. I feel like I said that wrong with it. I don't really care. Is I don't think it's one of his weaker albums. Obviously, I don't because I have it at number 2. But I think it's one of his best albums because it's unique. It's not like everything else that he's ever made. It's his glam rock album. It's got a very unique style. You can typically always tell when it's a Mechanical Animal song because it sounds nothing like any of his other music. And, well, I genuinely just like most of the songs off of it. It's got cool style. It's got some softer, more melodic songs, but it's also got its fast, high-paced music. Not so many hard rock type songs I can think of, off the top of my head at least. But it's got its fast-paced rhythm type music, and then it's got its soft, slow, melodic songs. And if you haven't figured it out because you just don't know all of his albums, or you just aren't a fan and you don't know this album, number 1 is Hollywood / Hollywood in the Shadow of the Valley of Death. I think it's my favorite album because, well, it contains my favorite song of all of his music, and it also obviously contains my favorite song off the album. Like I've said enough times that it's gotten probably really annoying for most of you. I think it's a very well-rounded album with a lot of songs that stick out as individual tracks. So, Hollywood is number one, and I also am upset because of the fact that it did not get the financial success that it should have because of the Columbine controversy almost squarely being blamed on Marilyn Manson, even though, as he put it in Bowling for Columbine, he just sings some rock and roll songs. It is not his fault. And for all of you who don't know Marilyn Manson, or have a negative opinion of him because you think, oh, he's just a crazy lunatic dude who sings rock and roll, I suggest you all go on to YouTube, which you're already on if you're listening to this on YouTube, because it's not on anything but YouTube at the moment. You search up Marilyn Manson, Bowling for Columbine, and you watch that interview because it'll really truly show you how smart, intelligent of a guy he is if you don't already know that. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about Hollywood. Incredible album, deserved more success, but it didn't get it because of political issues like Columbine and media favoring going more towards poppy music that is not as high of quality as this sort of music because as this sort of music declined in popularity, it became a lot harder to make it and be successful, especially for as long as Marilyn Manson has, which is over 25 years. Actually, I think it's been it's been over 25 years. I was like, maybe it's 35 years, but no, that's just me doing bad math. It's been just over 25 years since Portion of American Family has been released. So it's true that he cares about his music and is very passionate about it because for music like him, what the type of music that's most popular and considered mainstream, it's very hard for you to be able to make it for a long time with this sort of music. But he has. And now, well, because it's the first episode, I don't want to use every single topic available. And because we're already over half an hour long, which I didn't think I'd actually be able to hit, we will be going on to our last topic, which, yes, of course, is yet again Marilyn Manson, and how you guys can also get to know me a little bit more, which will be I will tell you my favorite song off of each album, which this is in no particular order except for by my album rankings. So that's how I'm giving you the order. It has nothing to do with where I rank these songs amongst one another. But if you'd like, I could give you my top 10 songs later on down the line. Just let me know if that's something you want to see. But my favorite song from Born Villain is a bonus track and also a cover of the song You're So Vain. And the runner up on that one. And I also give it a very good run for its money would be Born Villain, which I feel is one of the only songs on that album that genuinely stands out above the rest. So I picked You're So Vain, and I definitely give Born Villain a strong second. Portrait of an American Family. It used to be Lunchbox, but as of recently, it has become Kickin' Sodomy. And honestly, depending on the day, it very much would be Lunchbox. But as of today, it's Kickin' Sodomy. Now, on to Pale Emperor. My favorite song is Third Day of a 7-Day Binge. And I like that song because it's just a good song. Now, I Deep Six was my first song I never heard from that album, so it also was in consideration along with Tattooed in Reverse because, well, I think that was like the first song that I genuinely, truly liked off the album and got to really know and listen to a few times. But Third Day of a 7-Day Binge is ultimately my favorite song off of it. Now, Eat Me, Drink Me, my favorite song is Putting Holes in Happiness. This one was actually one of the harder ones to pick my favorite song off of because, well, I don't like as many songs off of this one as a lot of other albums, so it had a lot smaller of a range, including primarily Putting Holes in Happiness, If I Was Your Vampire, and Red Carpet Grave. But ultimately, I picked Putting Holes in Happiness because, well, I think it's the best song. I almost picked If I Was Your Vampire because that was the first song that I liked off the album, and honestly, if it weren't for that song, I probably never would have even given Eat Me, Drink Me a second glance from when I eventually found myself gradually, slowly but surely, and very much resisting liking the album. And oh no, I just accidentally broke a part of my mic, and then I fixed it because it was only the mic stand. Because I am a fidgeter, and well, I fidgeted too much with it. So, but it's good now, so who cares? And now on to Antichrist Superstar. Now I went back and forth on this one because I don't really have a whole lot of songs that stick out, but after recently reading the autobiography slash memoir, which I'd actually more call memoir because it only covers a certain part of his life, especially now, like 20 years after the fact that it was written, it's definitely a memoir. Ending the argument I just had with myself for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And my favorite song from that album is Man That You Fear. And it's really mostly because, one, the video was unique and interesting, and because I actually genuinely like the meaning behind it, and I feel it's a very good song. Now, on to Heaven Upside Down, and to probably make a lot of you guys happy, I'm going to tell you right off the boat, or right off the bat, not boat, that makes no sense, is that Heaven Upside Down is not my favorite song off of that album. I don't hate it like everybody else does, for some unknown reason. My least favorite song off that is We Know Where You Fucking Live. My favorite song off this album, though, is Satan. The original title track until the album was no longer being planned on, was no longer planned to be called Satan, and it was switched to Heaven Upside Down. Now, I think the song is very good because it stands out above the rest. I feel like it's just a lot darker of a song, which normally isn't always my style, but for this album, being that that is more one of the stronger, harder songs, it sticks out amongst the rest, and that's part of the reason why I like it. Now, High End of Low is Running to the Edge of the World. Now, as I mentioned before, I Want to Kill You Like They Do in the Movies is one of my favorite songs, but it is not as good as Running to the Edge of the World. Because I'm one of the people that can't sleep without any like white noise or background noise. So what I'll do often is I will go on my Marilyn Manson playlist on Spotify, and I will find some of the softer songs that he has, and I'll cue them up, and I'll listen to them as I fall asleep. Yeah, that really shows what kind of a fanboy I am. And one of the main songs I will usually put at the beginning because it's easy to fall asleep to and just listen to in general is Running to the Edge of the World. Now, the golden age of grotesque is the song Spade, which I honestly think would have been a better song as one of the singles and deserving of the music video than some of the songs that got them. I think it also would have been a lot harder to probably make a music video, which is part of the reason why. But I also think that it's the best song. I think Ain't definitely deserved its music video because it's a great song off the album. But Mob Scene, personally, is not one of my favorites from that album. I listen to the song sometimes, just not my favorite. I also think the title track, Golden Age of Grotesque, also is a lot more deserving of the music video. And that was also probably the runner-up to Spade. And it was definitely one of the ones in consideration. Now, onto Mechanical Animals. The song is Mechanical Animals, which is actually apparently, surprisingly, my only title track, which is actually my favorite song. Because Golden Age of Grotesque it isn't, Heaven Upside Down it's not, Antichrist Superstar. Well, Antichrist Superstar was actually in pretty good competition, along with Golden And actually, they're Born Villain again. Didn't win it either. But Mechanical Animals, I think it's one of his best songs he's ever made and released. But not quite the best song ever, but definitely the best song off the album. And it had some competition with songs like Speed of Pain, Fundamentally Loathsome, actually you can really see again my style more, and Great Big White World, and Rock is Dead, all great songs, which is part of the reason why it's number 2. But my favorite song of all of Marilyn Manson, and my favorite song of Hollywood, is Lamb of God. Now, there are a lot of great songs off of Hollywood, which made it a lot harder to choose, but being that Lamb of God is my favorite song out of all of his songs, it was also super easy, because Hollywood has a lot, and I mean a lot of great songs. I think it's like an 18 or 19 song album. I don't really know, because I don't memorize how many songs are in every album. I only know that Heaven Upside Down has 10, because, well, I have every single song on my playlist, and there's only 10 of them. But that's another fun fact about We Are Chaos that I found out, is that it's only going to be 10 songs, which I'm kind of disappointed about, because it took 3 years if there's only 10 songs. Boo-hoo. That sucks, but who cares, I guess. But yeah, Lamb of God is my favorite song, with the Death Song being one of my other favorites off of it, and um, I'm really blanking on what it's called, but there's another song that I really enjoy off the album. I'm gonna look at Spotify right now real quick just to try and see if I can figure it out. Ooh, the Nobodies. That was definitely one of the songs that gave it a run for its money, along with Coma Black. But those aren't actually the songs I'm trying to find and think of. So the Death Song. Oh, here it is. A Place in the Dirt. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Now I like songs like Disposable Teens and the Fight Song. They're just not my favorites. Target Audience. Another one that really gave it a run for its money, along with In the Shadow of the Valley of Death and Valentine's Day. So yeah, those are my favorite songs off of each album. And as this podcast episode is reaching nearly 45 minutes without even covering more than just like one or two topics, I am gonna have to be ending it off soon here with a goodbye, and hopefully my co-host Trevor will be here for the next one. He should be, because more technological issues are being solved. Not really as I speak. Well, maybe as I speak, because I don't know what he's doing. But I look forward to the next episode, and hopefully I won't be alone, so that way you guys don't have to listen to my annoying voice, which only gets more annoying the longer you listen. But this is I this is a terrible outro. If I knew more about editing and how to cut sounds and only certain segments, I would, but I don't. And I need to also remember to plug in my flash drive, so that way I don't accidentally lose this file. I should probably make a copy of it as well, because I lose a lot of things and don't know a lot about computers. And even though that's a very basic thing. Well, that doesn't matter. The main point, see, I used it again. Surprisingly, I haven't actually used it in as much as I would have. But as I just said, the main point is, this is the end, which I really wish would not have disappeared into thin air, the Marilyn Manson cover of The End. But I technically, don't tell anyone, but I technically have it on my phone. But don't tell anybody that, because nobody needs to know. Because I don't know if it has anything to do with, I could lose the song or the file or whatever. So don't tell everybody like I just did. And this has been the Anything Goes podcast, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.